What's up everybody, my name is Wayfaring Robin 1 and today we're looking at another band that was highly influential in punk music and their name was the Dead Kennedys. Before we begin today's video, I'd just like to state this video will have to endure heavy censoring because of the use of the World War II German symbol, because YouTube does not like that at all, so please bear with me as I have to use weird terms and phrases such as swingles to refer to them. I'd also like to state that this video isn't a full deep dive of the band but instead surface level knowledge, as this video aims to talk about the music and its value along with what inspired it and why it was very important. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's march our way into today's video. Our story begins in 1978 with members Jello Barifa doing iconic vocals, Klaus Fluoride for bass, East Ray Bay for guitar, and Bruce Slinger for drums. The band would go on to play shows at local venues, and due to their provocative name, they played pseudonyms including the DKs, the Sharks, the Creamsicles, and the Pink Twinkies being the popular choice for them. There were protests from wanting the band not to play venues, but the owner of Mono Bay declared, "I can't cancel them now, there's a contract, not apparently the kind of contract some people have in mind." The band openly admitted that the band name was not meant to offend the Kennedy family, but instead to honor them. But even with all the eyes on them, they would have poorly performing shows, having no songs or albums released under their name, but that all changed in 1979. In 1979, the band would release their debut song, California Uber Alice, on the guitarist independent label Alternative Tentacles, and after this song, they would continue to tour with poor show attendance. In early 1980, they recorded another single called Holiday in Cambodia, and after this, they would record their first ever album, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, being one of their most successful albums they would release. The album would go on to sell about 250,000 copies, which is not at all a bad number, especially for the Dead Kennedys, whose songs would consist of Kill the Poor, Let's Lynch the Landlord, and I Kill Children. So it's no surprise why no major label would want to associate with them. However, off this album, one of the songs would be one of their most successful songs, being California Uber Alice, which sits comfortably at 33 million streams on Spotify, and Holiday in Cambodia, which sits as a very comforting 55 million streams on Spotify. So to say this album did poorly would simply not be right, as this would be one of their most successful albums, and it would boost them into the spotlight for better or for worse. After the album, Bruce Slinger, known by his stage name Ted, would leave the band to pursue a career in architecture, but would help look for a replacement. They ended up signing for Darren Henley, known as D.H. Peligro. During the search for a drummer, guitarist East Bay Ray attempted to pressure the band to sign a major record label with Polydor Records, but Jello was openly against this, stating that he would leave the band if they joined the record label. But after learning that the new song was titled Too Drunk to Fuck, Polydor Records would decide to revoke the offer of signing them. During 1981, with their new drummer, they would release an EP called In God We Trust Incorporated, which compared to their last album would be more hardcore and thrash. One of the popular songs on that is Nazi Punk's F Off, which sits at a very comfortable 12 million streams on Spotify. Also during this time, they would release another album called Plastic Surgery Disasters, roughly around 100,000 were sold, and compared to their other works, would be considerably more political in nature, talking about Reagan, social and political life, and the religious right. After the release of this album, the band would take a small break to focus on their label and would release a documentary of the band up to that point. While on their break, they would start to develop a large underground following. After they took a break, they would make yet another album titled Frankenchrist, but to be honest, it really isn't that great. There's not a whole lot to really say about this album, other than that there was one good song to come out of this album, and it's MTV Get Off the Air. But other than that, this album is not very good, and I don't even really want to talk about it. But there's one event that happened after this album was released, and it is when the Dead Kennedys were involved in an obscenity trial because of this album. The story goes that a teen girl bought the album inside the vinyl store, where there were tons of wieners and coochies all over the inside of the vinyl art, and the mom got really mad and called an attorney where they would all be sent to court. But we're going to paraphrase and say that the judge said there's not enough evidence, plus it's really stupid over some art, release these people. And so the band got off with no charges, but this would mark the beginning of the end for the band, as it almost pushed their company to bankruptcy. The band would start to drift away from the underground scene, starting to attract more violent people to their concerts and having many of them be swoodle people, and the Dead Kennedys were open about the fact that they hated these people who actively supported the ideas of the funny mustache man. They were also getting fed up with how the industry would dumb down punk rock, again being very open that they hated the people ruining the scene. They released one final album called Bedtime for Democracy, which shows the Statue of Liberty being defaced by everyone wrong in the world, such as politicians, the people with the swingles, religious zombies, and corrupt government. Personally, this is one of my favorite albums, and it has a lot of bangers such as Shrink and Take This Job and Shove It. The album would be poorly received though, and it'd be one of their worst albums to ever release, and most record labels would only give it no higher than a 3 out of 5. The songs would be really short, most songs only being about 2 minutes each. After the album was released, the band would sadly break up. All the members would embark on solo careers, all of them being very short-lived and landing them really nowhere. While there is more history to talk about the band after this point, this is what originally happened to a lot of the band before they replaced the singer and other people of the band for tours and other nefarious things, but nothing official would cease to ever happen. However, one event I will mention is passing of the drummer D.H. Peligro. In 2021, he would overdose on heroin and fentanyl in his LA home, so in a way, this video will be dedicated to him. But we must end the video on a good note. While the band would go down in infamy, they would be one of the first bands who would bring the hardcore scene to the spotlight, and they would also be a band to majorly influence the punk bands that are around today. With all that done, it's time to end this probably already long video. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'll see everyone next time. Goodbye everybody.